Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, I want to get some content out to you guys. I do have to take care of a few things today and tomorrow, but it's not, basically it's not that bad. It's just I just got to go over and watch, go over and check the homes of, some family members and everything. So that's all I have to do. So it shouldn't really interfere too much. Just check on the animals and stuff. But I wanted to come on here and talk about a show that I heard about. I've kind of watched it when it came out a little bit, watched bits and pieces and all that on episode here and there. And basically, you see on the screen what I'm talking about. You see the title of it. It is, of course, the Stan Lee, the late great Stan Lee, presenting his only, as far as I know, only adult animated series at that time under his POW Entertainment label. That being, of course, Stripperella, which featured the voice of Pamela Anderson, who, by the way, is going to be with Liam Neeson. I think that's who's playing the starring role in the Naked Gun reboot. So those two are going to play off each other in that remake, and we'll see what they do. Obviously they're going to be taking on the roles that Leslie Nielsen and the other actress took on in the original series. And if it's going to be a parody and all that, kind of a callback to that in some way, then you got to let them loose. You got to let Liam, if I believe he's a funny guy. I think he can be funny. You got to let Liam Nielsen be himself and everything. Let him really, I guess you could say, exercise those comedic chops of his to the fullest extent. And Pamela, you got to let her go full on Pamela, full on cheesiness with her acting and everything. Play up the fact that she's still attractive even for her age and all that. So just let them play that up as much as they can. Obviously there are some iconic scenes from the original that you gotta probably recreate here, and that would be fun. That would be fun to see and everything. But yeah, Pamela, she was she was a creative consultant, not just I think executive. Well, I wouldn't say she was an executive producer, but she was a creative consultant. I think she had some kind of exec position in the making of the series as well. But basically, she and Stan Lee were a fan of each other's works, believe it or not. You can't blame Stan Lee for being a fan of Pamela's works back in the day. And you can't blame Pamela for being a fan of Stan Lee's work in comics. So, them coming together, doing this collab project was, a good idea. Was a decent idea. And for what it was, gotta give him credit. It was a nice satire, because that's what it was. It was a satire, animated superhero. It was a satire, animated adult superheroine series that they put on. Now, it premiered basically when Spike TV came into being. I believe it premiered, in 2003. Spike TV had already at that time switched over to being Spike TV. They were formerly TNN, the National Network, then the National Network. Then they went to Spike TV. This was also at a time where they had Monday Night Raw as part of their lineup. And they were trying to make Spike TV more of the network for men, if you will. Basically, it was the more, I guess you could say, sensitized adult channel. Basically, kind of the, I guess you could say, the adult channel without all the cheese, if you know it. Well, I wouldn't say cheese, but without all the, how would I say this? It was basically like a light version. It was like a PG-13 version of After Hours on, outlets like Showtime. That's what it was. It's basically a PG-13 version of After Hours on Showtime, or a PG-13 version of a lot of those adult websites, if you know what I mean. Those adult websites out there that show you a lot more than you bargained for. Let's put it that way. But anyway, Basically, that's what Spike TV was. That's what they were trying to be. They are now known they're now known. Excuse me, while I get some coffee here. They're now known as the Paramount Network, which means, of course, any of the programming, original programming, can also be seen on Paramount Plus. I don't think Stripperella is there. I have to look. I have to see if Stripperella is on Paramount Plus. I don't think she is. And all that. I don't think she is on there. That's what I'm trying to find out. No, it's not available on Paramount Plus, but we can watch it on Amazon Prime Video. I think you gotta buy these episodes and stuff. I think you gotta buy them. Yeah, I think you do have to buy them and all that. So, yeah, if you want to watch Stripperella, you gotta buy the episodes, if not buy the season, if not the complete series. Because what's interesting about it is, even though the animation style changed a little bit midway, because I think what happened basically is the animation. I don't know what it was. I think it was I think basically it was a. Let me see. I'm looking this up while I'm talking about it. I think it was a division or some kind of disagreement. Give me that. Let's see. Okay, it said halfway through the show's run. I'm looking it up right now. It's on the Stripperella wiki page. It said the animation style changed halfway through, becoming brighter and revamping the looks of many of the show's characters. So that's what it did. Okay, let's see. Trying to see here. Okay, it says right here. The animation style changed halfway through the show's run, becoming brighter and revamping the looks of many of the show's major characters. Stripperella, for example, was now drawn with a cowl having larger eye holes similar to Batgirl's. Fellow stripper Fasona now had a darker complexion and an accent that explicitly changed from episode to episode. Now, you would expect basically, changes like that to happen for like the second season, or for a future season and all that. For example, and I've brought this up before when I talked about stuff, Sonic Satire. Sonic Satire had two different animation styles. The pilot was based on what you saw in the Archie books. You had the pink Sally with the brown, blackish hair. You had, Bunny with the right facial, with the white fur under, and everything, outside of her regular colors. Basically, everything was brightened up, but more reminiscent of what you saw, character design-wise, in the Archie books, and very reminiscent of being more of a take on what Adventures was, but with a more Saturday morning serious tone, if you catch my drift. It was basically Adventures dark, if you will. Let's put it that way. It was basically AOSTH dark compared to AOSTH light, if you know what I mean. It was basically Adventures for the older audience, while the syndicated Adventures was for more of the younger audience, if that makes any sense. But anyway, getting back to Satire, essentially, you only had, that design for the pilot, which, depending on when you watched the pilot, was either the first thing you saw, or was the last thing you saw when it initially came out on Saturday mornings. And then afterwards, you had the season 1 style of the characters that we all came to know and love, and then come season 2, you had character design changes, revamps and all that. The humor you had a little bit more emphasis on humor and all that, comedicness here and there, especially with Robotnik and stuff, but you still had to maintain what made the show, so beloved in the first season. But characters that got a revamped, newer look, of course, was Sally with pupils in her eyes now, and full Isis and all that, full Isis and pupils and eyes. Her fur coloring was a little bit more darker. She had the vest, so you had that. You had Rhoda completely redesigned. You had Antron changed up as well facially in the looks. Bunny was pretty much the only character that was the same, except her fur was a little darkened as well. but it wouldn't be until about Blast of the Past Part 3, I mean Part 1 I should say, not Part 3, there was no Part 3, but it wasn't until Blast of the Past Part 1 that she got the full-on treatment that Sally got, and that's getting the irises and pupils in her eyes as well. So you had changes to the characters, and of course you had the addition of a new character in Dulcie. The point I'm getting at in making that comparison is you would expect Stripperella to do something similar, right? To do something similar, but the show didn't. Basically, halfway through the show, which I could assume was around episode 5 and 6, let me know in the comments. But halfway through the show, around episode 5 or 6, you had the design of the characters change, and you'll see the design here with the images. You had the characters' designs change to, as described, Stripperella's cowl, her mask, if you will, at the beginning was kind of like the very classic, superheroine mask, where it's like they put it on and then you just see a white, like a white void where the eyes would be, with a, where they view out and everything, kind of like a Spider-Man mask and all that, but just like, just as a mask that she puts on and that's it, an eye cowl, as they put it, that's what she had. She had a blank, when she put it on, her eyes, it completely covered her eyes to where it was just all white. You didn't see any, pupil, you didn't see her eyes, you didn't see her irises or eyeballs or anything like that. It was just like what you would see with Batman or you would see with Robin and all that. But when they got halfway through, they changed that up to where now you see her eyes, the opening, it's basically a more wider cowl, if you will. And you see her eyes and everything, so, her eyes are not hidden. And it makes it a little bit more easier, I guess, for anybody that's a friend of her to identify, my friend, Erotica, that's her name in the show. Erotica and Stripperella are one and the same. So, at least the friends that would probably keep it a secret would be like, oh, you're one and the same. Okay, so now I know why you disappear at times when you shouldn't be. But yeah, that's essentially, that's essentially what happened in everything halfway through with the animation. But again, like I said, you would expect that to happen with like a second season, and it's obvious that this revamp in uptake in animation and character design was supposed to, in my opinion, was supposed to be saved for it's supposed to be saved for the following, for another second season. Excuse me there. Hold on. But like I said, you would expect, maybe a change like that to happen when you get to the second season, in which again I believe there was a second season planned for the show. But I think what happened is it didn't, ratings wise, I don't think it did very well because it was late at night. And basically, I think the reason it didn't do so well is because obviously they wanted it to be uncensored, and Spike being promoted as the network just for men, even, it too even had its limitations. It too had its limitations and all that. And apparently they couldn't, go all the way. Now, if you get the series on DVD, and I think you get the series on places like Amazon Prime, or even Internet Archive, because yes, you can find the series on Internet Archive, complete and everything, obviously ripped from the DVD, you will get an uncensored version of the show. You get an uncensored version of the intro, you'll get uncensored parts in the show that got covered up, or was edited to, be covered up or censored. You get all of that, without any censorship, period. You'll just basically get it as the creators wanted it to be. Now, Stripperella, of course, was, a superheroine series done by Stanley's POW Entertainment that, as I said, was a satire. It was a satire, pretty much, of, I think I said that, didn't I? Correct me if I did. If I didn't, I should say. But yeah, it was supposed to be a satire parody of the superheroine genre. And basically, in this case, you had a superheroine whose job outside of being a superheroine was she was a stripper. She was a exotic dancer, if you will. and she had a job at probably the most elaborate strip joint, if you will, that I think anybody can think of. And that's the obvious truth, because one of the episodes that they have, I think it's like episode 5, I believe. I think somebody said it was episode 5. I take it, because I asked this on X, Twitter, because somebody has a Twitter on there and everything, dedicated to Stripperella. And yeah, it's episode 6. But in episode 6, they have her, like I said, she works in probably what is known as the most elaborate strip joint you can think of. And at the beginning of episode 6, a minute or so in, or 2 minutes in, they have Pamela's character that she voices, basically doing a strip show while bathing in a big giant glass of champagne. I'm not lying. She dives in it, submerges under it, and all that. She is soaking, bathing, while putting on a show for a bunch of guys in a big glass of champagne. And, and basically, this is her day job / night job that she has outside of being a superheroine, doing stuff like that. But she also does take, but when it comes to being a superheroine, being Stripperella, she tries to, as the satire puts it, tries to take her job very seriously. And you cannot see that that's what she's trying to do in the series, because she is. Now, apparently, in various interviews and everything, Pamela, not Pamela, but Stan Lee and Pamela and others have said that it was going to be a little raunchy. It was going to be a little bit of a raunchy show, but it wouldn't be dirty, but it would be funny. That was the initial selling point, because I'm reading off Wikipedia, depending on what you believe with Wikipedia and what people put on there. They say production-wise that the project was one of the first projects created by Stan Lee's new production company, POW Entertainment. It was originally announced to be running on TNN, later renamed Spike, just, the network for men, in January 2003, with Pamela Anderson voicing the lead. Lee, who would only provide the pitch and character outlines before handing the show, okay, let me reread that. Stan Lee, who would only provide the pitch and character outlines before handling the show together, or handing the show together to other. Okay, I'm getting a little tongue-tied here, guys. Hold on for a sec. Hold on. Sorry about that. I got a little tongue-tied. But anyway, rereading that, it says, okay, let me reread this whole thing. It says the project was one of the first projects created by Stan Lee's new production company, POW Entertainment. It was originally announced to be running on TNN, the national network, later renamed Spike, in January 2003, with Pamela Anderson voicing the lead. Stan Lee, who would only provide the pitch and character outlines before handing the show to other writers, noted it would be a primetime cartoon, and stated it won't be dirty, but it will be funny. The series planned to use motion capture technology to faithfully show Anderson's autonomy, basically her body structure. It was later delayed to become part of TNN's new adult animation block, alongside The Ren and Stimpy Show and Gary the Rat. Anderson claimed she and Lee were fans of each other's work, and that she would give notes on the series scripts, which is why she's credited in the intro as a creative consultant. Now, basically, like I said, it was a parody, it was a satire of superheroine, not superhero, but the superheroine genre, and she had some very outlandish villains, arch rivals, if you will, enemies, a rogues gallery, if you will. Like, for example, they had according to this, she had two reoccurring villains. Cheapo, who was voiced by Maurice LaMarche, the world's cheapest bad guy. And this guy appeared twice, and for some odd reason, this guy, when he would appear, would always like to bury, basically submerge Stripperella in some kind of substance or item. Like in his first appearance, he traps her in a big old Coke bottle or drink bottle and dumps a bunch of pennies on her, submerging her under it temporarily before she pops up as he and his henchmen are leaving. But yeah, he basically dumps a whole bunch of pennies on top of her while she's strapped in this bottle. And basically, the last thing you see before they go to a commercial is her submerging under, where it's like she goes down head first, and then she's waving her arm and hand, and it goes down under as well. And basically, that's how his villain was played out. And then he does it again in his return, but he tries to this time bury her alter ego, Erotica, or whatever her name is, in the episode that he returns in. Let me see. I think he's in one of the later episodes. Yeah, Cheapo by the Dozen. So he returns in that one, and again, basically he captures her, or at least the alter ego version of her, and she essentially gets trapped in this ice cream factory, basically in this ice cream mixer, and she gets ice cream, chocolate, sprinkles all dumped on her, buried, submerged under it, and she has to use some devices given to her on her cleavage, if you will, to get out. But yeah, basically that's basically that's what she basically that's one of the kind of villains she had. The other villain she had is a queen. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to get in trouble. But a Queen C, voiced by Soren Urin. She's a woman who lashes out on society for her facial appearance. Now, she did have other notable voice people in there. One is surprising. One surprising is the competition, the owner of the main competition to the strip club, the strip joint that she's a part of. Because the owner of the main competition, the Tenderloins, as they call it, the Tenderloins is where Stripperella works, outside of being a superhero as a strip dancer. The Silicones, as they call it, the Silicones, I guess, I don't know, is a strip club owned by Derek McMahon, and guess who voiced Derek McMahon? Vince McMahon. Yeah. He basically works, basically he is the voice of the owner of the strip club called Silicones, and who openly admits his obsession for, erotica, Stripperella, if you will, to work at his club. Yeah. So basically, he kind of, Derek McMahon is a play on Vince McMahon's character, and unfortunately what he is really in real life. So yeah. The other noteworthy stuff here is Stripperella works for the agency FUG under Chief Strongoff, voiced by, again, Maurice LaMarche. Other recurring FUG members are technicians Hal and Bernard, voiced by Tom Kennedy and Greg Proops, and Special Agent 14, again, voiced by Tom Kennedy. That's one thing you will notice, is that basically you're going to have a lot of the same voice actors taking on different roles in this show, with a few exceptions, like Vince McMahon, of course, and, Serene Urin, and stuff like that. And then, of course, you have other characters in there, like some of Stripperella's co-workers at the Tenderloins, but like you have basically Fasona, voiced by, again, Serene Urin. She is a obnoxious and switches accents, and naive, good-natured country girl Giselle, voiced by Jill Taylor, or Taylor, and the news member, the antagonist Kat, voiced by Joey Lauren Adams. Joey Lauren Adams, who voiced by Joy Lauren Adams, who gets hired at, the Tenderloins under false pretense of being an Amish virgin. So yeah, basically, those are the characters that she interacts with: villains at work, antagonists, and all that. She has reporters like Skip Withers, voiced by Tom Kennedy, and Margot Van Winkle, voiced by Jill Taylor, appearing when TV news coverage is needed. So you have all that. So again, she interacts with a different amount of characters: villains, at work, friends, and antagonists, and all that. So yeah, it basically has all the typical tropes of a, your average, well, I wouldn't say your average superheroine show. It has all those tropes and everything, but that wasn't enough to at least get it like another season, because again, like I said earlier, I strongly believe that the change in animation that they did halfway through the first and only season was meant for the second season as well. Now, did it get some... Now, what kind of reception did it get? Well, according to Wikipedia, and I'm sure there's other outlets that have more information, one person, Rob Owen of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, gave the show a positive review, saying that it was unexpectedly clever, a bit sometimes crude, and that its tongue-in-cheek humor was reminiscent of the 1960s Batman series. And you got to remember, that was looked at as a satire of superheroine genre at the time too, but still staying true to the Batman mythos, but with more of a satire humor and take, I should say, on the character. Now, the complete DVD box set, or just case now, I guess you could say, was released on February 22nd, 2005, contains uncensored versions with a new opening theme replacing the Kid Rock song, because when the series came out, Kid Rock, who was associated at times with WWE because of, him originally doing the American Badass theme for Undertaker, which was reused on Monday night and everything. They replaced it with something else because, I guess, of licensing issues. And then they go on to state that recently Paramount and Viacom have allowed Mill Creek Entertainment to acquire the distribution rights to any future DVD reissues. So that clamshell one that you see for sale on Amazon and elsewhere, I think that's a Mill Creek distribution re-release. Now, here's what's interesting too. Originally, there would have been a promotional Stripperella comic written by Lee and published by Humanoids Publishing, publishers of Metal Hurlant magazine, alongside the animated series, but it was not published. So basically, they were going to go all out with this and say, hey, here's a comic to give you an idea of who the character is. We don't know if it would have been an origin story or not, but it was going to be a promotional one, which I could take would have been the origin, in my opinion. Now, here's why I think, now this is what's going to be interesting here, as to why the series only lasted one season, and why the animation style changed midway through until waiting into a second season to change it up like a lot of shows would. Here's what I think could have been the reason. Legal controversy. And let me get some coffee here before I read this. But it says, legal controversy. It says, in 2003, ex-stripper Janet Clove, let me reread that. It said, in 2003, ex-stripper Janet Clover, aka Jazz, aka Stripperella, filed a lawsuit in the Daytona Beach, Florida Circuit Court against Viacom, Stan Lee, and Pamela Anderson, claiming she is Stripperella's true creator, and Stan Lee stole her idea when she discussed it during a private, quote-unquote, dance session. So I think that might have... So let me reread that. This is the legal controversy that happened back basically about 22 years ago, or at least 21 and a half years ago, we'll put it that way. It says, in 2003, ex-stripper Janet Clover, aka Jazz, aka Stripperella, filed a lawsuit in the Daytona Beach, Florida Circuit Court against Viacom, Stan Lee, and Pamela Anderson, claiming she is Stripperella's true creator, and Stan Lee stole her idea when she discussed it during a private dance session. Now, with a lot of the Wikipedia articles, they do have notes you could click on and everything. And this one is from the Chicago Tribune back in 2003. Where it's highlighted, "With a real Stripperella, please." And this was actually updated in 2021. And this is what they said, and I quote, "TNN," this is an article by contributing content. This is what they said back in August of 2021, 2001. Not 2001, but August 21, 2021. Excuse me there. But this is what they said in the updated article posted by contributed content on August 21, 2021 at 4:31 Central Time. It states, and I quote, "TNN, Spike TV, call it what you want, this network can't catch a break. Just as Spike Lee settled his lawsuit against the cable channel, comes word that a former stripper in Florida is filing suit to end its new show, Stripperella. Janet Clover filed the lawsuit Monday against Pamela Anderson, who provides Stripperella's voice and persona, and comic book legend Stan Lee, who created the show. Viacom, TNN's owner, was also named as a defendant. Clover claims she's Stripperella's true creator, according to the lawsuit filed in Daytona Beach Circuit Court." Now, it goes on to state, Clover, who identifies herself in the lawsuit as Central Entertainers home studio founder, said she filed the lawsuit without the advice or assistance of an attorney. Quote, "This office challenges Lee to produce proof of his creative work, as true authorship belongs to Tanga's Jazz," she wrote, referring to an adult club in Tampa where she claims she asked Lee about the concept of Stripperella a year ago during a private dance session. The Southern Belle has agreed to star opposite Gladiator hunk Russell Crowe in Cinderella Man, Variety report. Okay, this is another story arc. Sorry about that. Okay, so okay, I was reading something else, but anyway, that's basically the gist of it right there, and I think that's why the show didn't last beyond its first season. I'm sure others that have talked about the show have noted that as well. I know Rowdy C of TV Trash, Chris Lee Moore, talked about that, I'm pretty sure, when he did his take on the show. But yeah, basically, I and I'm sure many others feel that this court situation with this Janet Clover is the reason the show didn't go beyond one season, and why, in my opinion, the animation changed up, a lot sooner than it wanted to be changed up by the people creating it and everything, within the cube, if you will, or within the within the strand of one season, and why that one season was the only season it got. So, yeah, unfortunately, I don't know what the end result was. I'm pretty sure they settled it out of court. And everything. But yeah, basically, this was basically the downfall of the series, unfortunately, because when you're somebody, as we have noted throughout history, when somebody gets accused of something, whether or not it's true, the courts are normally going to side with the person making, and whatever's involved, especially if it's a show or a comic or a movie or some music or whatever, that piece of media, if you will, is going to get affected. Again, going back to, the Sonic situation, but going back to Sonic, Ken Penders did what he did, and it affected the comic in the long run. Yeah, the comic survived for about, I guess you could say 40 more issues, 40 plus issues, about 4 more years, or what is it, like, yeah, almost, almost 4 more years. It survived. It survived for 4 more years. But basically, it was never the same after Penders did what he did. And them having to softly reboot it, and kind of have a connection between the old continuity and the new continuity. It was never the same. And that's what caused, in my opinion, Sega to say, "Look, Archie, we had a great relationship with you, but we don't want to chance anything anymore. We're going to move on to somebody else and try to really simplify, what the comic is supposed to be, but also expand it as needed. Like add in characters, bring in characters as needed, but not focus on said characters all the time and focus on our core cast like we see what's going on with IDW. So to me, basically, you kind of see something, I wouldn't say similar, happening, or not see happening. You kind of see and understand something that something happened similarly. That's what I'm trying to say. Happened similarly with Stripperella here. Because I believe if this Janet Clover wouldn't have come out and did what she did, I feel that the show would have gotten like another season, maybe 2 more seasons, and the animation style, which changed up midway through, that new animation style would have been saved for that 2nd season. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. Get more coffee there. But like I said, just my opinion. However, we can't really say. Now, maybe she was here's what I'm thinking. Whether or not what she filed is true, whether or not they settled it out of court or not, we don't know. But I think maybe one of the reasons she may have filed is perhaps she knew about the show. Maybe she was okay with it, but she wasn't getting royalties. That's the thing. That's the thing right there. That maybe she wasn't getting any royalties that she felt she deserved. Because they were using her name. Her name that she would use at times, and she would do basically the same job that Pamela Anderson's character was doing in the series. So I think honestly, basically, that might have been probably the main reason, but we don't know, because going back to Sonic with Archie Sonic, Ken Penders felt like he wasn't being given his royalties, despite the fact that later evidence, even after the comic was canceled, and moved over to IDW, rebooted and everything, that, later evidence has shown that maybe Ken wasn't, I guess you could say, afforded those royalties after all, because what he said was all a lie. But we don't know. Excuse me, we don't know. But again, I know I bring that up a lot when I talk about these kind of things. But like I said, the comparison or the similarities to an extent, you can't deny them. You can't deny them whatsoever. So to me, when I look at this series, it has positive reviews. There's no doubt. It's got a positive reaction when it came out. It basically has gained a cult fan base since then. Rotten Tomatoes, as of right now, puts it at 80%. IMDb has it at 5.7 out of 10, almost basically above average. So yeah, the show had its positives. It had its negatives and all that. But like one person that reviewed it, from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, basically it's an animated version of what the 1960s Batman show was. It's a satire that's not supposed to be taken seriously. It's not supposed to be taken seriously. And then you can look at that in the titles of the episodes themselves, when the show came out. But anyway, though, all I can say is if Stripperella makes a comeback, I think they need to essentially bring it back as an adult animated series. I think Marvel, well, I wouldn't say Marvel would take it because Disney would not allow this. But then again, Disney has allowed R-rated stuff on Disney Plus, so who knows? But I think, honestly, Warner Brothers, DC, I think POW Entertainment, in my opinion, are they still in business? I don't know if they're still in business. Are they? I don't know if they're still in business. Yeah, they're still in business. They're still in business and everything. It is a subsidiary company. And it's currently owned by Camelson International Holding. And it is responsible for Lightspeed, the reality show Who Wants to Be a Superhero, The Mighty Seven, which I have the Blu-ray version of, Mosaic, I've seen that a little bit, The Condor, and it also helped out with, of course, Stripperella. We know that. So, And yeah, they have worked with them. So yeah, Stripperella was the first one they did. And then Superhero Christmas was a book. Lightspeed, Who Wants to Be a Superhero, Mosaic, The Condor, Ultimo, Who Wants to Be a Superhero UK version, Time Jumper, Hero Man, Stanley's Line, which was a book, Stanley Superhero, which was Superhumans, I should say, which was a series, which was a reality series, The Invincible, basically, which is I think going on right. Chikara, The Invincible, I think, which is going on maybe. Well, The Invincible we know is going on right now. Let's see, Verticus, Superhero Pack, Zodiac Legacy, which they did with Disney in a book series, Hero Command, The Unknowns, Lucky Man, Cosmic Crusaders, God Woke, Workforce, The Reflection, Stand Tones, Alliances, A Trick of Light, The B Team, Superhero Kindergarten, which is another show that's currently still out, or was out, basically, which starred Arnold Schwarzenegger as Arnold Armstrong and Captain Courage, and he was also a co-executive producer. Stanley Curator, Fabian Nizia as a writer, Paul Wetched, CEO of Main Street Advisors, as executive producer, 26-episode series. And then they got upcoming, as far as we know, Legion of Five, which is an animated film, Apollo Rising, which is from Columbia Pictures, R-Red Productions, Realm, which is Fundamental Films and Stanley Global Entertainment. It's a Chinese superheroine, so we'll see that. The other one, the first one, Legion of Five, is casting and early development for Apollo Rising. Then the other one they have is that, and then like I said, Realm. Right now is a Chinese superheroine cast. Star Li Bing and scripted Alex Lavac or whatever. And then Arc Alien, that's another one by Hulin Media and Mission Control Entertainment. And Stanley Universe imprint by Archie Comics, which is Superhero Kindergarten first title. So yeah, that's basically, some of the projects they've done and will be doing. So if they want to, and the reason I bring all those projects that they've done and will be doing up is because if they want to revitalize Stripperella, they could work with Warner Brothers. They could work with DC, and they can bring Stripperella out in that manner, and she could be basically be a satire, once again, a parody of superhero genre again, but you could also incorporate her into the DCU if you wanted to, so that way she can interact with, the likes of a Wonder Woman, a Batgirl, a Harley Quinn, an Ivy, a Poison Ivy, I should say, and so on, and I guarantee you it would probably work. So yeah, if they want to license it out to other places to get revitalized, I think there's a good chance that people would be happy to see it, because like I said, it had a positive reception when it first came out, and obviously it's got a cult following even today, that fans still talk about it, love it, dedicate Twitter/X pages to it, and so on. So yeah, I think if they wanted to bring it back today as a reboot, or maybe even continue it where it left off, I think fans would be totally fine with it. I think they'd be totally fine. But anyway, though, guys, I just wanted to come on here and talk about this show, and give you guys that may or may not know about it, basically a history, credit to Wikipedia for some of the help, as well as the Stripperella fandom wiki, as well, for the help and information. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if you've seen Stripperella. Let me know if you have, if you believe that, the show could make a return, and who do you think POW Entertainment could license it out to for maybe a continuation of the original series or a reboot, down the line? And do you think if, let's say, Warner Brothers was to have it licensed to them under the DCU, it could fit in, the character of Stripperella could fit in with that universe? let me know. Comment down below, like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications. Also, click on the links in the description to find my content elsewhere. Support me at all your favorite podcast affiliates where you can find my podcast BW Rosas discussions, as well as check me out at rumble.com at BW Rosas, odyssey.com at BW Rosas, VENMO at BW Rosas. Check me out at devernart.com at BVW1979. Also check me out at inkbunny.net at BW Rosas. I have a Venmo and a Cash App if you want to help donate in that area, as well as I have a Teespring store. Link is at the bottom of the description, or bottom of the description box. Click on that for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. But guys, give me your thoughts on all this. Let me know what your thoughts are on Stripperella. And until next time, I will talk to y'all later. But have a good day. God bless.